Good afternoon, and thank you for connecting with the Pennsylvania Game Commission today. My name is Brittany, and I will be managing this session. We are fortunate to be joined remotely by Game Commission Wildlife Education Specialist Lauren Fenstermacher and Wildlife Education Specialist Dan Lynch. They'll be speaking with us about the waterfowl migration at Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area in Lancaster and Lebanon counties. I'd like to do a quick audio check just to make sure that everybody can hear me. If you'll check the control panel to the right of your screen, please just type into the chat box if you can hear me, and then we'll know that the audio is working okay. While you're doing that, I can let you know that we expect the presentation to last about 20 minutes, followed by a question and answer period of about 10 to 15 minutes. For those of you dialing in to listen by phone today, please note that this is not a toll-free call and you may receive long-distance charges from your service provider. If you'd like to take notes, you can download the handouts from the handout section. All right. It sounds like the audio is working. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren and Dan. Thanks for joining us today. Would you guys like to give a little bit about your backgrounds so that people know a little bit more about you before you get started?
Hi, Brittany. Thank you for having us. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you.
Perfect. So, as Brittany mentioned, my name is Lauren Fenstermacher. I am one of the managers at Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area. My responsibilities there include our controlled hunt programs, managing the visitor center, and taking care of the biological duties that are involved at Middle Creek.
And hi, Brittany. My name is Dan Lynch, and I'm a wildlife education specialist with the Pennsylvania Game Commission. And in my 23rd year of doing that, as well as also being a deputy wildlife conservation officer. So if you would like, Brittany, we will go ahead and get started.
Yep, you can go ahead. Thanks.
All right. Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area is a prime destination for wildlife and for folks who care about wildlife and wild places. It was built for waterfowl. At a time when Canada geese were in less than desirable numbers in the Commonwealth, particularly in the East. Over time, it has become so much more to those who love wildlife and want to see habitats managed for countless species of birds and mammals in an ever-growing and encroaching population of people. The Game Commission presence in the area around Middle Creek dates back to 1929 with the addition of State Game Lands 46, which is a 1,758-acre tract of land in the Furnace Hills area. Waterfowl hunters in the late 1960s, who normally would have to travel to western Pennsylvania near the Pymatuning Reservoir in Crawford County, wanted a similar area in eastern Pennsylvania to hunt. In an effort to provide a waterfowl stopover site and further hunting opportunities to the growing population on the eastern side of the state, Project 70, Project 500, and hunter license dollars provided the funding for the development of Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area. By 1973, 10 years after the initial Project 70's monies were allocated, the development of Middle Creek was complete. After the initial construction of the lake, ponds, and suitable fields for waterfowl, the hope was that if we build it, they will come. And they did. Slowly at first, but today Middle Creek is a necessary Atlantic flyway stopover for many species of migrating waterfowl and other birds. Middle Creek encompasses 6,254 acres, including a 400-acre lake and over 30 ponds and wetlands throughout the area. This includes a 756-acre wildlife propagation area that is off limits to the public during the critical nesting seasons. In 1995, the acreage of State Game Lands 46 increased by over 1,000 acres with the purchase of the Coleman Tract. Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area today is enjoyed by thousands of visitors each year. They come to enjoy the various wildlife that they can see at Middle Creek throughout the year, including deer, waterfowl, songbirds, raptors, owls, wildflowers, and butterflies. However, the most popular time of year is during the annual snow goose migration. Visitors from across the globe venture to Middle Creek in search of seeing the massive migrations and views that the snow geese provide.
So just starting to give you a little bit more background on the greater snow goose. The greater snow goose weighs between 3.5 to 7 pounds on average. Their wingspan is about 54 inches, and their distinguishing features include their overall white body, with the exception of their black primary wing feathers as seen in this picture here. They have pink feet and pink bills, and many people ask what makes it a greater snow goose. There are actually two subspecies of snow geese. One of them is the greater snow goose that we see most often at Middle Creek. The other close relative is the lesser snow goose. The lesser snow goose, which is, as you would assume, much smaller than the greater snow goose, occupies a different range than the greater snow goose, and that includes much of the Midwest part of the country. And it doesn't typically reach as far east as Pennsylvania, but we do see them occasionally at Middle Creek. In the early 1900s, there were as little as 2,000 snow geese left, compared to their numbers today that number greater than 6 million. It is thought that their populations increase by 9% each year in some areas. And because of their dramatic increase in numbers, biologists are worried that the snow goose will eat itself out of house and home, especially in its breeding ground, which is in the Arctic tundra. Damage is mostly done in the bird's breeding range, but can happen in the winter ranges as well, as they grub for the roots of the plants. While they're in Pennsylvania, they will feed on grasses and waste grains in neighboring agricultural fields. Their populations can fluctuate based on weather conditions in their breeding range and can also be impacted by hunter harvest. Snow geese mate for life and fly together with their family groups while traveling in large flocks, most numbering from 1,000 to tens of thousands. Until about 1996, the snow geese numbers at Middle Creek fluctuated between 500 to 1,500. In 1999, the numbers jumped dramatically, with over 100,000 snow geese passing through Middle Creek. The largest number ever recorded at Middle Creek was in 2007, when there was an estimated 170,000 snow geese on the lake. This number has fluctuated in recent years as snow geese find alternative locations to stop at along their migration, including quarries and other bodies of water. A common question we get is, how do you know how many birds there are? So looking at this picture, it can be difficult to just start counting individual numbers. So what biologists do is try to start with a small group of birds, such as this. This circle here contains 10 birds. If you double that circle, you could say that that is 20 birds. Add the same size circle, and in total, you would have 10 plus 20 plus 20, which would be 50 birds total. So the more oval or flat circle there would represent 50 birds, so you could double that number by using that same size. Both those together would equal 100, and using that size circle from there, you could say the bottom is 100, the next one is 200, and so on and so forth until you count all the rest of the birds. Just as a quick update here, as of this morning, there are 15,000 snow geese at Middle Creek, and there are about 2,000 tundra swans, which we will talk about in the upcoming slides. So in order to understand the snow goose or any waterfowl migration, you must first understand the flyways that run through the United States. Millions of waterfowl migrate through these flyways, taking cues from the stars and sun in the sky and other landmarks to guide them on their journey in search of food and habitat. Middle Creek is located, as Dan said, in the Atlantic Flyway. So looking at this map, this is a general overview of the snow goose migration. Snow geese will typically winter at coastal salt marshes, including popular ones such as Bombay Hook, Prime Hook, and the Delmarva Peninsula. From there, they will move north into Pennsylvania to places like Middle Creek, or other open waters sources such as quarries, like I had mentioned before. They will continue north until they reach their breeding grounds in early spring, which are in the Arctic tundra. So looking at this map, the pink in the northern part of North America represents their breeding range. The yellow will represent their migration south, and the blue represents where they overwinter there. So if you look to Pennsylvania in the southeast corner there, where Middle Creek is, it's a non-breeding, it says non-breeding resident. It's basically where they winter over. Another popular question we get is, how do you track the migration of snow geese? So how do you know that, as on the previous slide, where they migrate to and from? Snow geese can be captured when they are flightless, and they can be banded or collared. These bands and neck bands can be spotted from afar as the birds migrate, and this information can be reported to the bird banding lab, and it will be sent to the group or individual who is doing the study on the migration. Some birds can even be marked with a telemetry unit that allows us to track their location via GPS. So by looking at the picture on the right-hand side, these are telemetry points that show a bird that has migrated from the Delmarva Peninsula up into Prime Hook, Bombay Hook, and then into southern Pennsylvania where Middle Creek is located. From there, they will go into central New York where the Finger Lakes are, and then follow their migration path north until they reach their breeding grounds. Another bird that is popular to see at Middle Creek is called the Tundra Swan. They are another infamous bird that has a very impressive migration route that takes them through Middle Creek. They first arrived at Middle Creek in 1976, shortly after Middle Creek was built. They only numbered in 12 at that point when they first showed up. Annually, their numbers peak at Middle Creek currently between a few thousand to over 10,000 swans. Tundra swans have one of the most impressive migrations. Their journey can total around 4,200 miles from the Carolinas into Canada where they breed. Tundra swans are long-lived. The oldest known individual was a banded bird that lived at least 21 years. Because swans are migrating for a better portion of their life, scientists estimate that 92% of adults, 81% of juvenile males, and 52% of juvenile females survive each year. One study even found that a 52% survival rate for young eastern tundra swans was the number for their first migration. So you can see that their survival is actually, only half of them will survive through their first migration. Their wingspan is greater than 5 feet, and they're different than the swans that you would typically see here in the summer on residential ponds, which are most likely mute swans, which is actually a non-native species to North America. As mentioned before, the tundra swans breed in the tundra, and in Pennsylvania they are a protected species. However, there are limited seasons on tundra swans in North Carolina and Virginia. Here's a map showing the migration for tundra swans. You can see that it differs slightly from the snow goose migration, that it doesn't go straight through the Finger Lakes. Most of the swans, after they leave Middle Creek, will go to Lake Superior, Lake Erie, and go to the Great Lakes, and from there go to their breeding grounds. Another popular question we get is, how do you know the difference between snow geese and tundra swans? Even for hunters, this can be a difficult thing to answer, but in this picture here it shows the differences between the two. Notably, snow geese have a very short neck compared to the tundra swans, and they also have black wingtips. Those are the most distinguishing characteristics. They also have snow geese have pink bills and feet, where tundra swans have black bills and black feet, and the overall size difference is you can see that as well. The tundra swans are much larger than the snow geese. So you can see that here in this picture. The arrows represent the long neck that the tundra swans have and the black wingtips that the snow geese have. Tundra swans and snow geese are not the only waterfowl that you can see at Middle Creek. There are actually over 25 other species of waterfowl that can be seen at Middle Creek during the year, including a variety of ducks, geese, and swans. There's also a majority of other wildlife to see as well. Middle Creek is considered an important bird area and an important mammal area, and there are 114 birds that have been known to breed at Middle Creek, and 292 species of birds that have been seen at Middle Creek. Bald eagles have been breeding at Middle Creek since 1999. Since their initial nesting, 27 eaglets have fledged from Middle Creek. During your visit, if you come to Middle Creek, keep an eye out for other nesting structures on the property, including bluebird boxes, kestrel boxes, and osprey nesting platform that was just installed in August.
When you do visit Middle Creek, one of the spots that you want to check out is the Visitor Center. Initial construction of the Visitor Center began in 1971, and many thousands of visitors have since toured the many mounts and displays, as well as have been entertained by many excellent speakers throughout the years. Many upgrades have since been completed in the last several years, including an efficient HVAC, geothermal heating and cooling system. We've added many new hands-on interactive displays designed to educate people about the difference between diver ducks and puddle ducks, education about waterfowl habitat, as well as an interactive map on the game lands and all of its special features at Middle Creek. Some displays feature waterfowl biologists capturing and banding ducks, as well as look at many of the nesting devices for waterfowl featured at Middle Creek. Duck identification and snow goose migration are important display topics in the Visitor Center. So when should you come? Well, generally the best time to visit Middle Creek to observe the spring waterfowl migration is in late February and early March. Currently, as Lauren just said, we have about 15,000 snow geese there already. So open water and snow-free fields are necessary before the birds will arrive. Where are we located? We're located on Hopeland Road, 2 miles south of Kleinfeldersville on the Lancaster and Lebanon County line. And as you can see, we have a GPS address that you can use to get there. Make sure you bring along optics. Binoculars, spotting scopes, and cameras will definitely enhance your experience. Make sure you've got good walking shoes and layer of clothes because it's usually pretty cold while you're standing out there the whole time. One thing that's important is to remember to keep your distance from the flocks of waterfowl. There are signs posted and wire barriers designed to provide safety to both the waterfowl and the people. Please respect the wildlife and keep your distance. Bringing something to eat, pack lunch, snacks, plenty of things to drink are a good idea. There are restaurants in the area, but they do require some driving. We don't have anything right there at the Visitor Center, except for some snacks that you might be able to get out of a vending machine in the Visitor Center. Those that want to explore additional hikes, we have hiking trail maps available in the Visitor Center. We feature 9 different hiking trails that range from an easy flat walk to lengthy and rigorous hikes. Our drivable tour road is also open seasonally starting March 1st. A tour road map can be picked up at the Visitor Center. The best viewing opportunities are at daybreak or dusk, especially from the end of the Willow Point Trail. On the weekends, crowds in the next few weeks are going to be quite large. So if you have the opportunity, consider coming during a weekday. Check the Game Commission website and search Middle Creek in the search bar for weekly updates posted starting today. The Middle Creek Tour Road will open March 1st, weather permitting.
So Brittany, that concludes the PowerPoint portion of the presentation. We can open it up to questions whenever you're ready.
All right, excellent. I have a question to start it off. In one of the beginning photos, it showed a bunch of several people holding their ears whenever the snow geese lifted off. Is that really loud?
Yeah, it's super loud. And when you're right along the edge of the wire and there's 10 to 30,000 geese right next to you, it's pretty deafening. You can't hear. The one interesting thing about snow geese is that they never sit still. They're constantly jumping and leaping over each other. And they will take off and fly across the road and then fly back throughout the morning and the evening as they come back to roost. And yeah, it truly is deafening. It's a pretty neat experience.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, I guess. We do have another question that came in here. Someone is asking, Marianne is asking, do loons ever stop at Middle Creek?
That is a good question. I believe that they have been seen there before. However, they do not migrate through there. Typically, you're going to be seeing loons in the fall season around September. That would be the greatest chance of seeing them there. They are uncommon to Middle Creek, though.
Mike asks, can you hunt snow geese? Yeah, you can hunt snow geese. The conservation season, which is an extended season for snow geese, is actually starting today, February 1st, and it goes through April 21st. You need a hunting license, a federal stamp, and a harvest information permit as well to hunt them. And in the conservation season, you also need a conservation season permit. All that information is on the website. You're allowed to harvest 25 birds a day during the conservation season. And so, yes, you can hunt them.
Karen would like to know, do Canada geese compete for the habitat with the migrating birds?
Absolutely. So as mentioned previously in the slides about how snow geese feed, they actually will pull the plants up by the root. So when they feed on the plants, they will remove the entire plant from the root base, where Canada geese typically just cut off the tops of the grasses. So when snow geese come in, you can imagine when you have over, like today we have 15,000 birds there this morning, you can imagine 170,000 birds on the landscape. That can cause landscape level damage, in which case, yes, it would restrict the amount of vegetation on the landscape at Middle Creek. But not all of the birds feed at Middle Creek. As mentioned before as well, they will leave Middle Creek in search of other food, including waste grain and other winter wheat fields in neighboring agricultural areas. The Canada geese will also leave Middle Creek in search of those as well. So fortunately, the surrounding ag lands around Middle Creek are very important to our wildlife management area, and both of them can use those habitats.
Thanks, Lauren. Do the snow geese have any predators at Middle Creek?
At Middle Creek, I would say one of the most common predators that you're going to see, especially if you visit Middle Creek, are bald eagles, spooking them up off the lake. Typically, bald eagles might not be able to catch a snow goose unless it's injured. However, in their breeding ranges, you can expect to see many nest predators, as Canada geese have here. Those could include foxes, gulls, even bears and wolves will also take some eggs, and some different birds that we do not have here, including parasitic jaegers and other birds that are in their breeding territory that we don't have at Middle Creek. You can also, at Middle Creek too, like I said, if you do have an injured snow goose, we do have resident predators there as well, such as coyotes, that, yes, they could actually take a snow goose too.
Lisa would like to learn a little bit more about the visitor center. Could she spend a whole day there? How large is it?
Sure, there's plenty of things to do to spend the whole day. Maybe not the whole day inside the visitor center, but if you combine walking around the visitor center, looking at all of the interactive displays, and actually using the displays, and then checking out all the mounts, getting a hiking map, and then checking out some of the trails that we have at Middle Creek, it'd be very easy to spend the whole day. And people do that all the time. We get a lot of visitation at Middle Creek and throughout the year, not just when the snow geese are there.
Yeah, I agree that the visitor center is really neat to look at all those different interactive exhibits. Freddie is asking, do the same geese return to Middle Creek every year?
Is he talking about Canada geese or snow geese?
I'm not sure, Freddie.
Okay. To start with Canada geese, we have a resident population there that stays at Middle Creek year-round. We do have other migrating geese, Canada geese, that come in each year as well. I'm sure that there are birds that return to this same area year after year, and that stands for Canada geese and snow geese, which makes Middle Creek extremely important. There aren't very many bodies of water that are protected, such as Middle Creek, that are here specifically for waterfowl migration. So yes, I'm sure thousands of the snow geese that have been here in previous years continue to utilize Middle Creek along their migrations, and same for the tundra swans and ducks that come to Middle Creek as well. They all, I'm sure they utilize Middle Creek as a very important area, whether they're migrating, breeding, or just using it for a place to roost for the night. So yes, they do return.
What are some reasons that snow geese might stray from the main migration route that you had showed on the map?
One of the things that might make some of them stray would be available food sources. If they are finding a lot of winter wheat being planted in fields that the year before may have just been corn stubble or something else, then they're going to stray when it comes to looking for more food. So that might be one thing. Weather is very important as well. You know, once Middle Creek freezes, if the lake freezes, they're going to be looking for other areas that, you know, on their route that might not be frozen, so that they can roost there overnight. So I would say weather and available food sources might make them change their course a little bit, but they're kind of honed in on the direction that we saw on those maps. They're going to pretty much stay in the Atlantic Flyway, and they're going to stop at the same stops that they normally do.
A teacher, Miss DeLeo, is tuned in with her 4th grade class. Thank you all for joining us. The 4th grade class is interested in learning what the geese generally eat.
So snow geese will generally eat what is available on the landscape. Typically, like Dan just said, the winter wheat fields are a very popular food source for them in the winter. Also, the surrounding agricultural fields, including the waste grain, like he said, corn stubble, or any leftover grains, soybeans, anything that they really can get a hold of is they'll eat. They're sort of generalists at this time of year because they're on their way back north, so they need to continue to feed and build their reserves for their migration.
Bernard is asking for photographers that are coming. Would you recommend that they wait until the Willow Point Trail opens in March to come?
The Willow Point Trail is actually currently open. That actually stays open year-round with the exception of being closed during our Canada Goose hunting season. So that is currently open. However, it really does, if he's looking for the massive numbers that can be there, like I said, currently we only have 15,000. Compared to some years, you know, we did get up over 100,000. So I would check our website or call our visitor center to see how many birds we're seeing if he is looking for larger numbers. But the Willow Creek Trail is open year-round. Our tour road is the road that is closed seasonally. That closes in September, usually September 15th, and stays closed until March 1st.
All right, I think that about covers all of the questions. There's a few that we didn't get to, but if the rest of you could email pgccomments@pa.gov, Lauren and Dan can get those questions and they'll try to answer you that way. The session has been recorded and you should receive an email with a link to the recording within the next few days. The recording will be uploaded to the Game Commission's YouTube channel where captions will be auto-loaded and edited. I'd like to thank Lauren and Dan for sharing their expertise and time with us today. We'd also like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this afternoon, and we hope that you'll visit us again to learn more about the Pennsylvania wildlife in upcoming webinars. Let us know what other subjects you might be interested in. Until then, we hope you're able to get outside and enjoy some of the Pennsylvania's great outdoors. Thanks.
Thank you, Britt.